Alright, well YouTube, welcome back for another episode of Class Haven Farms. And back by popular demand, we have Ethel and her buddies. And I have another little surprise for you guys. Been trying to work on some stuff. So check this next thing out and let me know what you think. Alright, so probably one of the biggest things I got since my last chicken video was I got a lot of interest from people on Facebook, and people text messaging me and saw my channel and wanted to know more about starting chickens and raising chickens. And I've had chickens maybe 6 years now. I love it. Love having chickens, especially when you got little kids, because it's the best way to teach your kids kind of where their food comes from, because they can watch it firsthand. They can watch them if you get them as babies from a hatchery, or if you go to a farm and feed store like a Tractor Supply, or for us around here, Hatchers. It's the best way for your kids to kind of learn about that. They get to feed them, they get to water them, they get to take care of them, and then you get the reward of eggs, and then that's just the coolest thing. So anyway, a lot of people were asking me questions about chickens and wanting to know more about them. So we'll kind of go through it. And I had a lot of people that were like, do you name your chickens? Do they have names? What kind do you have? So we'll kind of run through that real quick. So I'm going to do the one that is on her own, because she's kind of a butt sometimes, and that's just the way she is. And that would be Peep. And there's Peep right there. Now, I don't know 100% what Peep is, besides a pain in the butt. But I have Peep, and then back here is Pickles. So Pickles and Peep came to me from a good friend. She was moving, and she was moving to a place that would not let her have chickens. So she contacted me and wanted to know if I could take them, and it worked out really well, because at the time, my in-laws were living with me. They had about 4 Rhode Island Reds, and they had stopped laying. They weren't laying anymore. So my father-in-law actually gave them to a guy that has a chicken farm. I mean, he was going to process them for meat. So our coop was empty. So I got Pickles and Peep from my friend, and we also got 2 other chickens. We got Sandy and Alberta. Now Sandy, it was a Buff Orpington, much like Ethel and this one here. I can't remember what Alberta was. I can't remember, but she was a good chicken too. The sad thing about them is I had them out. They were free ranging around, because usually in the spring and summer I free range my chickens, and then in the winter time I'll put them inside my garden here, so they can poop and fertilize everything and get it ready for me for the spring. And sadly, Sandy and Alberta were taken. I'm about 90% sure they were taken by 2 bald eagles that we have that are not a mile away from here. And the reason why I say bald eagles, it was definitely an airstrike. Whatever took them was an airstrike. And you can always tell, because with something on the ground, with a ground strike, it's a fox or something like that. You're going to have a blood trail. You're going to have a lot of feathers. You're going to have a trail of feathers. Where when a hawk, and most of the time you see hawks. You don't really see a lot of bald eagles, but now we have bald eagles here, so it's what leads me to believe it was bald eagles. Usually with a hawk strike, what happens is the hawk will come down, and it will actually try to cut the head off of the chicken on the first pass. And then when the head falls, the hawk will double back. It will wait for the chicken to die, and then it will come down, and if it has to, it'll hack the wings off so that it's easier for it to fly off. Hawk doesn't want to fly with it when it's fighting, because sometimes some of these chickens can be almost as big as the hawk, depending on the size of the hawk. So that's typically what they'll do. And so you'll find the head, you'll find the initial patch of feathers, and then you'll see a trail. But I didn't have that. I couldn't even find a head I never found the carcass. I never found anything for either one of the chickens. And, you know, at the time I didn't think bald eagle, but maybe about 6 to 8 months later, my son and I went fishing, and we saw the bald eagles, and we saw them nesting. And like I said, I mean, we're real close to the water, so it wasn't but a mile away from here. That's Pickles and Peep. Now these 4 obviously are my ones from Meyer Hatchery. They kind of stick around. The others are walked off. And so obviously we all know Ethel, right? And then this one here, now they're all walking together. That one right there is my daughter's, and she's a Welsummer, so much like the Kellogg's chicken, and her name is Merida. The gray one is an Easter egger, and that's my son's. Her name is Crystal. And then the one that's kind of showing her bossiness right now, that's Shelly. She's a green queen. And then of course we know Ethel. Now watch, Ethel and her are probably going to get after it, because Ethel will usually fluff herself up and go after her. So those are the 4 we got from Meyer Hatchery. We got them in the mail. Meyer Hatchery's out in Ohio. We ordered them online. They came in the mail. Post office contacts you. You go get them. So that was really cool. Took my son with me. We went and got them from the post office. And at the time, one of the guys I work with, he also got, I think he got 10 chickens also. So I had 14 altogether. So that was pretty cool. That's an awesome way to do it. All right, so now that I got them all back here, this one here and that one there are barred rocks, and that there is another buff. Kind of looks like Ethel. Those 3 don't have names. We actually got those shortly after we lost Sandy in Alberta. We bought them from a woman. I don't know if it was Facebook Marketplace or if it was Craigslist, but we bought them, and it was right before they started laying. Was how we got them, and mainly we just got them because Pickles and Peep they're still slowing down their egg production, so we picked those 3 up. I probably would never do that again. These barred rocks are the nastiest chickens, and it's not the chicken's fault, it's just the way they were raised. Pickles and Peep, as well as these 4 here, and Ethel. I'm trying to figure out how to get out of here. They were raised around people. They were picked up all the time. Those 3 there, those 2 barred rocks and that buff, they weren't. They were, I think, left over at Tractor Supply or some type of a feed store or something. And the woman just bought a whole bunch of them. And she had, I think my wife said she had like 50 chickens. And she was just trying to get rid of them. And she just didn't feel like feeding them anymore. They weren't producing eggs because they were still too young. But I probably wouldn't do that again. I would recommend, if you have kids, getting them in the mail. That's the coolest thing. Either getting them in the mail, or you can try to hatch them from an incubator. But of course, a lot of times with that, you don't know what you're going to get. But when you get them from the mail, we got them from Meyer Hatchery, and I love it because United States Postal Service delivers them. The post office will call you and tell you when the chicks are in. You can take your kids with you. You go to the post office, and there they are in a little box. And on the ride home, the kids are sitting in the back, and they're all curious, and they're looking, and all you hear the little chicks just peep, 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 and then you bring them home, set them up in a brooder, and do all that. To me, that's the best way to kind of teach your kids, and just kind of teach them about responsibility. My son is really rough on stuff, but he did pretty good with the chicks. There were a couple times I really had to watch him, make sure he didn't hurt them. But it was, for me personally, I would much rather get them from a hatchery in the mail, something like that, as opposed to buying them from somebody like we did with these 3. Just because I don't like their temperament. They just don't have a very good temperament. So, but anyway, that's kind of it for my chickens. This last video that I'm going to show you here is kind of how to train them. So as you can see, everybody is standing around checking stuff out. Let's say I needed to put them up right now. Most of the time, the chickens will go up on their own once it starts getting dark. They'll go up in the coop, and then all you got to do is come out here just after the sun goes down and lock them in. But let's say that I needed to leave. I needed to go to work right now. Well, if I grab this bag of mealworms Watch their reaction when I shake these mealworms. Oh, here they come. Oh yeah, oh, he's got mealworms. Dad, Dad. Right? So I can just train them and they'll follow. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. Oh, and here they come. And then I can toss them into here. So I'll toss a couple in there. Now my 5 Pickles and Peep and the 2 Bards and the Buff will go in there because they're used to it. But I'll toss them in just to get them in. And then I'll come down here and I'll sprinkle some in. And once I know I got 3 or 4 of them in, I know all of them are in, I'll walk back over here, I'll grab my gate, and I'll lock them in. Now you can see these 4, they're still kind of new to everything. These are the babies from Meyer Hatchery. But once I get these locked in, I can do the same thing with them. So that's how I train them. Just make sure that anytime you shake that bag, you give them their treats. Because otherwise they're not gonna, it's just like anything else, they're not gonna listen to you. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. There'll be more videos to come, so make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe and kind of help me out a little bit. And I'll see you on the next one.